Hi guys, Totallydubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the JBL Live 650 BT-NC. Now these are pretty inexpensive noise cancellation Bluetooth headphones. They can be found for around £130 in the UK and around $150 in the US. If you live in these territories or indeed elsewhere, the locally link in the description below will take you to your localized Amazon store. So without further ado, let's get into this review. So first off, what you get inside the box. Well, you've got the headphones themselves, as you might be aware, and I'll get to them in just a bit. You've got a 3.5mm to 2.5mm interconnect. So the 2.5mm goes into the headphones. You've got a USB to micro USB cable, and it's orange and it pretty much stands out like a sore thumb. And then you've also got a carrying case, which I like to see included because a lot of manufacturers don't actually include carrying cases. This soft carrying pouch will be perfect. You've also get a set of manuals which are inside, but that's not that important. Now, in terms of the headphones themselves, subjectively, I think they look really good. In comparison to other headphones that you can find at this price range, it's actually quite refreshing to see a headphone that actually has some sort of fabric on it and comes in different colors. I know that sounds really trivial to some people, but again, at this price range, it's actually quite rare to find. Now, the headphones that you can see in front of you are the blue variants. There's black and white as well, so it completely depends on your taste. There's JBL logo, which is kind of embossed in the on the side of the headphones, and better still, in terms of the overall design, these headphones not only can be folded like that, but can be folded inwards as well. So in terms of portability, I think JBL have thought pretty well about this and have actually produced a headphone that does a bit of both. So that's pretty nice to see. Now, in terms of comfort, it's worth bearing in mind that these headphones have got a pretty small ear pad diameter. Now, I don't have the biggest ears in the world, but I've got pretty large ears to say the least. And in my case, I did find that over time it did cause a little bit of discomfort given the size of the overall the diameter of the pads. In terms of the top, there's very little padding as well, so it's very much useful for if you're going to be using for short periods of time. When I say short, around 1 hour, maybe 2 hours at most, but anything more than that, I think you'll find yourself a little bit uncomfortable with the headband kind of pressing at the top of your head. At least it did for me. Furthermore, clamp force, which is something that a lot of people forget to mention, the clamp force is pretty strong, which is good if you're going to be using them on the go and you're going to be using them for sports of any sort. However, when it comes to actually using them with, let's say, reading glasses or let's say even sunglasses, then you might find yourself a little bit uncomfortable because the clamp force is pretty strong. So worth bearing that in mind. In terms of the headband, it's got adjustments, which is pretty large, as you'll be able to see. So no matter the type of head, and given the fact that you've got the little swivelly design over here, I think you will find that these headphones will fit most people. Moving on, we've got the actual port. So you can see the micro USB port on the left hand side, and left and right indicators, by the way, are inside the pads if that wasn't obvious already. And then you've got the controls on the right side. You've got play and pause, you've got on and off, the 2.5mm jack button over here, and also to toggle if you want Bluetooth or noise cancellation as well. That can be directly accessed from the headphones, so you can access them really quickly, and it works very well in that respect. So next up, we've got the JBL Headphones app, which I wanted to point out simply because of its EQ function, which I'll get into in just a bit. From here, you can see the headphones are connected. You've got the battery percentage, which is 100% right now. You can enable or disable ANC remotely, as in via the app itself, and you can see a little light over there indicating, and vice versa. If I were to switch it off, it will automatically pick it up over here. In terms of the settings, you can update the firmware, enable or disable the voice assistants if you want. So yes, it does have voice assistant functionalities built in, and Google Assistant, Amazon Alexa. So that's great to see if you do use them. And then more importantly, it's the EQ function. Now you can see over here I've got a My EQ setting, and you can see I've tailored it over here with a pretty relatively aggressive mid-range boost. Now, what I love about this EQ app, or should I say the app itself with the EQ functionality, is the fact that you've got full control over all the different frequency range, and also up to 9 decibels you can add or detract from a certain frequency. So this is good because you can tailor it to yourself, and furthermore, it just really does positively impact the sound, and I'll get into the sound quality section in just a bit. Now, before moving on to the performance section of this review, I do want to mention these headphones have got 30 hours of battery life and take around 2 hours to charge to full via the micro USB port. They also support somewhat fast charging, so you can give them a quick 15-minute blast as well to get that little bit of extra juice before you head out on your travels. So in this respect, it's pretty impressive to see these headphones actually perform well. Now, moving on from there, we've got call quality. Now, call quality of these headphones wasn't that impressive. I found that these headphones really suffered from environmental sound, so if I was on the road and calling my fiancée, I found that my fiancée was able to hear a lot of the background noise. But when I was in a quiet environment, these headphones did pretty well at picking up my voice and picking out pretty accurately. So on the whole, it's somewhat to be expected from a set of £130, and truthfully, in comparison to other headphones out there, which are far more expensive, they are not bad given their price. And now we move on to active noise cancellation. Now, it's worth bearing in mind these have got pretty good passive noise isolation due to their pretty good strong clamp force. But in terms of noise cancellation, I compare them directly to the Bose NC700s. Now, those headphones are more than double its price. And of course, those headphones are flagship headphones, and it comes to no surprise that those headphones do perform a lot better. But it's to be expected. At around £130, these headphones won't compete with flagship set headphones like the Bose, the Sony XM3s, or let's say, for example, other headphones out there even from JBL. But for £130, these did a really good job. So much so that I couldn't think of any other better headphones for around £150 that would perform better. And they include the Lindy BNX-100s, for example, and also the Philips PH905s, which cost a little bit more. Now, granted, the PH905 does a slightly better job at cancelling mid-range tones, so mids overall, like say vocals, but on the whole, the difference is very minimal, and therefore you can see the price difference is again very minimal. So if you want better noise cancellation and don't want to spend far more money, then you might want to consider Philips PH905s as an alternative. Before we move on to sound quality, I want to mention the Bluetooth codec. Now, these only support the SBC codec. It's slightly disappointing given some of its cheaper competitors support the aptX codec or even AAC codecs. In this case, I was a little bit disappointed from JBL. Similarly, I said the same sort of thing when it came to the Philips PH905s. Though the £160 headphones, I really expected a bit better codec support. However, in this case, there is no issues when it comes to video delay or lip sync issues. So when I was watching YouTube videos, which is notoriously bad on Android with certain codecs, in this case, the SBC codec was flawless. It had no lip sync issues, no video delay of any sort, so I wouldn't worry about that. And finally, we move on to the sound quality. Now, for £130, I was pretty pleasantly surprised. Now, you saw before on the EQ app that I EQ'd the mid-range, and that's because these headphones are pretty recessed. They've got a pretty pushed back and recessed mids. Now, when you do push them up, it might sound a little bit artificial if you go too much, and I did find that music was sounding a little bit weird when I was pushing them a little bit higher. So in terms of the mid-range, they're still weak even after being EQ'd, so they still do have a V-shaped sound signature and are still going to be sounding recessed. But again, for £130 headphones, they do a pretty good job. In terms of the bass, the sub-bass is somewhat non-existent. The mid-bass, however, is pretty present, has got a good sort of slam to it. Somewhat, some people might actually find it a little bit too overpowering, so you might want to EQ that down a little bit. But the mid-bass is very consistent and also very precise. In terms of the highs, they extend very well. I didn't find them to be sibilant of any sort. Unlike the JBL True Wireless earphones that I recently reviewed, they were really sibilant in the highs and had to be completely EQ'd down. But this wasn't the case with these headphones. They actually did a really good job, again, at providing a decent extension in the high frequencies. And then in terms of the soundstage, they did sound a little bit closed. They did sound a little bit kind of claustrophobic. Now, don't get me wrong, the instrument separation was pretty good, so you had a good sort of instruments coming from left and right channels. However, when it came to the general soundstage, in terms of how it sounds, in terms of the width and depth, here these headphones really struggled in terms of providing a open, wide and airy type of sound for closed back headphones. Again, compared to the PH905, the PH905 does a better job in this respect. And in fact, one of the things that I picked out with the PH905s is that those Philips headphones did a really good job at portraying a good width and depth in terms of the overall soundstage. So again, in terms of its price range, it does well. If you want to spend a little bit more, you'll get a bit better sound. So that pretty much leads me on to my verdict. These headphones are really good for their price. If you do want to spend a little bit more money, I would consider the Philips PH905s and as a good alternative for noise cancellation Bluetooth headphones. If you're not interested in noise cancellation, then you might want to consider other headphones, which you'll see down listed in the description below. So hopefully this video has been pretty in-depth and covered all this sort of basis that you might want to know. Let me know if you're going to be buying these headphones, or you're interested in them, or if it's just something that you've just seen online. Let me know in the comments below. And of course, as always, favorite and share, subscribe, like, and all that good stuff helps the channel grow, and of course keeps me doing these videos for you guys. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Take care and bye bye.